All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today we will have a meeting beginning right now, a budget hearing, a tax hearing, one at 9 o'clock, one at 9:30. So if we get finished a little bit early, we'll hang around and begin again at 9:30 as was published. At this time, will you join me and let's stand together and say a word of prayer and a pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning just thanking you for the task that you have given us and thanking you for the participation of our citizens. We just pray, Lord, for Titus County. We pray for the budget process. We pray for the taxation process, that we would make wise decisions and we would be prudent with the money that is provided for operations for this county. Lord, we take this seriously, but sometimes we miss things, and we just ask that you would ever watch over us and guide us by your Holy Spirit to make the decisions that ultimately would result in what is the best possible manner for the county and for the citizens. We turn this agenda over to you, ask that you would guide and bless this meeting. This is your time, Lord. We give you the praise and we thank you for joining us here today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Which one is first? All right, it is just a couple of minutes after 9 o'clock, and rather than asking everybody to fill out public comment form, we'll be liberal today and we'll allow anyone that would like to speak. I would ask that you keep your comments limited to about 3 minutes. But this is your time. The commissioners have presented their positions in previous weeks. This first meeting is a tax rate hearing beginning at 9 o'clock, and we've allotted 30 minutes for this. We'll take necessary time, but again, this is your time. Anyone is welcome to come up to the podium, express their thoughts, opinions. If you have questions for any of the commissioners, we'll do our best to answer those. So at this time, I will entertain anyone who would like to come up to the podium to address the court on the proposed tax rate, which at this time, without any further adjustments that I will discuss later, we are proposing a tax rate of 44.75 cents. So at this time, I will turn it over to you. Nigel?
I'm a bit confused. Why are we having a hearing on the tax rate? I thought we were just supposed to have a hearing on the budget.
We have two tax rate hearings and a budget hearing.
Right, we're supposed to have the budget hearings first?
First, as in the day, or as in order?
You generally do the thing on the budget before you set the tax rate, approve the final tax rate.
Well, we've got another hearing on the tax rate, and we won't vote on the final until a week from today.
Okay. Well, anyway, good morning.
Good morning.
As usual, I'm opposed to any tax increase. And yet again, for the 5th year running, you guys are proposing to put up your M&O tax rate. We're all aware that the problems with our local power plants and coal industry coming under attack from the EPA, and to a lesser extent affected by the low cost of natural gas from fracking. But yet again, you guys refuse to take things seriously and do what you were supposed to do, which is make some tough decisions in tough times. Mr. Parker over here, he told us a year ago he was going to be the taxpayer's friend and has yet to prove that, other than refusing to take the car allowance. You've done nothing to convince us that you're going to be with us, Jimmy. Mr. Fields is beyond hope. Mr. Hinson's retiring. But really what it comes down to is, Judge, is that you're not showing the leadership that we would expect from a Republican in terms of trying to control the budget. Over the years, we've given you all kinds of ideas of what you could do to improve things. Just off the top of my head, we've still got an antiquated IT system, which is derived from when Carl first took the job over 20 years ago. I mean, do we have to wait for Carl to retire before we update that? There's an easy $200,000 a year savings there to be got at, which you could use for other things or return to the taxpayer. Your healthcare costs, okay, you've changed it from some company in Thailand, and you've now got United Healthcare involved, which saves you a little bit. But right now, unless something changes, you're facing being classified as a Cadillac insurance plan under Obamacare when that goes fully into effect in 2018, and you could run into $100,000 in penalties on that real easy. I mean, the employees of this county need to be told that a few things have got to change. And the healthcare plan, the only way you can really get it down below that Cadillac levels is to increase the deductibles so they're more in line with what is out there for everybody else. You made minor changes to the retirement last year. You lowered it from 250% match to 200% match. But there's counties around here that have gone down to a 1-for-1 match. Meanwhile, in the private industry, 50% match is common. There's all kinds of things that you guys really just need to get a hold of and start making some real changes rather than just passing it on to the taxpayers every time. A year ago, when you were running for election, Jimmy, you said that Rick Perry had done a good job of keeping taxes down and trying to attract industry to the state of Texas. You said we need to do the same here in Titus County. So bear that in mind before you make any final votes in the next 7 days. That's what I've got. Thank you.
May I ask you a question? And I'm
Sure.
not here to argue with you or anything else. And I hear you loud and clear, and you've said nothing that I wouldn't expect for you to say, and I respect your position. You've been consistent as long as I have known you. What would you say would be the objective of this Commissioner's Court? If you were sitting up here, do you have a target tax rate in mind? Do you have a target budget in mind? Do you have a target number of employees? I still may not agree with you, but help me to understand what you would be pushing for.
I think that you could come up with enough savings to lower the tax rate by at least 5 cents
Okay.
on the M&O.
Do you feel like our taxes are high for this community?
Say what?
Sir?
Say that again?
Do you feel like that our taxes are high for this community?
Given the tax base that we've had with these power plants, we should have some of the lowest taxes around, but we no longer have that. I mean, you could certainly make that argument a few years ago, but that tax base has been under attack and going down, and we really have done nothing to try and compensate for that at all. I mean, hardly at all. And I think it's part of your job to try and make some of those cuts rather than just pass it on to the taxpayer every year.
But again, what would the ultimate objective be? You say that we're...
Well, the county has to stay competitive with other counties. Is what it comes
Who
down
are we not competitive? Help me to understand that. Let me ask that question. Who are we not competitive with?
Well, if you look at our track record, we really haven't attracted much industry here because we're further away from DFW than Hopkins County. I know their tax rate is higher, but our tax rate, county tax rate, is actually higher than several of the counties in the Metroplex area. And yet we're trying to persuade people to come out into the country and invest out here.
But wouldn't it be more appropriate to compare us to our peers in East Texas or even in comparably sized counties?
Yeah, but that doesn't, just because we've got, maybe have taxes that are proportionally lower, that doesn't excuse us from wasting money.
Well, again, what is your plumb line for comparing us to as a county that wastes money? What is the comparison, or what is it that you use to make that judgment?
The real issue is our taxes keep going up, and there's no good excuse for that.
No, there is a good excuse for that. The excuse has been...
The problem is you've refused to make any cuts. You don't want to upset any county employees. You want to keep them as a sort of protected class. I mean, we've heard in this courtroom over the last years, we've had people from the jail complaining and trying to protect their interests, which is fine. But why should somebody working in the jail get benefits way better than somebody working out of Pilgrims cutting up chickens every day for about the same money?
Okay. Well, so again, even though we favorably compare with our peers on a tax rate, would it be a fair statement to say that you think all of them are being inefficient with their money as well?
Well, you can go around counties around here and you can see that they've made some real cuts.
But yet we still compare favorably to their tax rates.
Yeah, but that doesn't excuse us for wasting money. That's not a justification for wasting money.
Okay.
Our tax rate should be the lowest it can be to provide a satisfactory level of service, and right now it's not.
Okay. I think you said something, satisfactory level of service.
Right.
And I believe that's that is where you and I would differ anyway, is
Sure.
What is a satisfactory level of service? I don't feel like we could achieve a satisfactory level of service in making some of the cuts that I believe that you support.
Why? You think you're going to suddenly lose a bunch of employees? The only place you have any turnover employees is in the jail. Everywhere else,
Well, that's one of the most, if not the most important department in this community, is maintaining a solid jail staff over there. That is where we have the most vulnerability of any county office.
Right. But it's where you get the highest turnover. It's the only place with any turnover.
Well, and
I've heard people in this court make the claim that if we don't look after employees like this, they'll go off and do something else. The reality is most of them won't, because what they get here is better than they can get elsewhere.
Okay. Well, that's where I'm going to rely on my sheriff to help me make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate the way that you present it. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Nigel.
Thank you.
Judy?
Well, I'm back. Every year, I get up here and say the same things. He's comparing us to other counties. Of the 37 counties that are in the same bracket of 25,000 to 50,000 people, we're rated number 9 from the top. Not 9 from the bottom, 9 from the top. And Hopkins County, that we keep comparing ourselves to, is number 1. They're the highest taxed county in similar counties our size in Texas. So no, number 9 from the top is not what we want. And what we want is what you would do at home, what you would do in your own business. If your income dropped, which ours is dropping drastically, you would sit down with your wife, or you would sit down with your board at your company or whatever, and the very first thing you would say is, we've got to make some cuts here. We've got less money coming in, and we've got to make some cuts. I can only see that y'all are making 2 cuts. We've got a huge budget that y'all could sit down line after line after line and see where else you could make some cuts. That's all we're asking. We're asking, if you ran on a campaign that said, I will not raise your taxes, that you live up to your campaign promises, that you not raise our taxes, and that you cut our budget. That's all we're asking. Work on cutting the budget so you don't have to raise our taxes. This will be the 5th year in a row. I come up here every year and I ask you, do not raise our taxes. Please do not raise our taxes. Think about, we're not country club people here. There's a little country club neighborhood over there. Maybe they're doing fine, but the rest of the county is not. You can look at our numbers and see we're not. You don't have a right to just keep raising and raising and raising our taxes. I mean, it's not fair to the taxpayer, and that's not what we voted on y'all and asked y'all to do.
Judy, can I ask you again about those tax rates? Number 9 from the top, just so I understand how you're making that calculation, because I don't see that.
Okay, we're making that calculation. If you live in Titus County, there are certain taxes that you have to pay. You have to pay your county taxes, you have to pay your hospital taxes, you have to pay the college taxes. Now, depending on where you live, you've also got to pay school taxes, but we don't know where you live, so we left that out when we figured this up. So every person living in the county's got to pay hospital taxes, college taxes, and county taxes. And we did the same thing in the surrounding counties, or the other counties the same size. And that's how we came up with number 9 from the top.
So you're combining a county rate, a hospital rate, if applicable, and a college rate, if applicable?
Yes, that's what you've got to pay if you live in the county.
Okay. So you're adding those three together and
Yes.
comparing us to, say, a county that didn't have a college or a hospital tax?
They have other taxes that their people have to pay. Some of them have water taxes, road taxes. I mean, they've all got certain things that a person living in their county has to pay, whether it's a college or a hospital or not. They have certain things their county taxpayer has to pay, and we took those things and added them in.
So why would you, how does the fact that we have a college, which is wonderful, and we derive far more benefit than the amount of taxes that we pay, is my personal opinion, along with a hospital where we also made a decision years ago that we wanted to provide be a regional medical facility. And unfortunately, we suffer a lot of unfunded care. But why should this court feel obligated to adjust ourselves when
Because
you're
this
lumping
court-
in there?
This court was hired by the taxpayer and is
Let
supposed
me
to be
finish. When
working
you're
for the
lumping in
taxpayer.
a county hospital and a county junior college, that's not an apples and apples comparison.
Yes, it is apples and apples. We're talking about what your taxpayer has to pay. And
But
we
we're
have to pay
talking
those
about
things.
county taxes. We're
Yes, we
talking
are.
about what we're
And if y'all
responsible
would quit
for up
raising
here.
y'all's, that might help us out a little bit, okay? If the hospital board raises theirs, and the college raises theirs, and y'all raise theirs, what does that do to the taxpayer? That's what we're talking about.
We could
So the
shut down,
college
we could
board-
shut down the college
No,
too,
we're
and we
not
could
asking
sell
you
the
to-
hospital.
We're not asking
And that
you to
would lower
shut
the
down the
taxes,
college.
too.
We all went and voted against the college raising our taxes, okay? We voted against that, but they rigged things so that there were not very many people going out to vote. If it had been in a normal election where everybody was going to vote, that wouldn't have passed. Nobody wants their taxes raised. You know, they raised their taxes and now they've got how many soccer players they brought in from another country? That's not a community
Well,
college.
that's not our concern.
That's right.
not our problem.
Your concern is your taxes and the taxpayer.
Right.
The taxpayer hired you
I'm
to take
concerned
it.
over what I have and these gentlemen up here have control over.
That's right. And you're not doing anything about it. That's what we're
But yet
talking
you're
about.
holding me to a standard where you're comparing me against other fixed items of these other counties. That's not a fair comparison.
It is a fair comparison. It's what their taxpayers have to pay. That's all we're looking at is the bottom line. And that's all your taxpayers care about, is the bottom line and how every year you raise taxes over and over and over. You don't try to cut. You don't try to live within our means. You would if it was your business. You would if it was your home budget. You would live in your means. You wouldn't just keep going out there and spending money like it's water. We're asking you to make some cuts in the budget. That's all we're asking, for you to sit down line by line and try to make some cuts in the budget so we don't have to raise our taxes every single year.
Also, in making that comparison, you're comparing us with a county that doesn't have any debt. Here we've got a 14 cents on top of our county rate that goes to service our new loop. That was something that the taxpayer said, we're willing to do that. And so it's almost as if you insinuate, well, you've got to compensate that, you've got to come down on your maintenance and operation,
No,
because
no.
we, the taxpayers, have
We're
decided
going to be
to...
getting money back on the loop now, so I don't think that's a good excuse anymore.
We're going to still maintain that tax rate.
I'm not asking you to lower our tax rate.
No,
I'm
no.
asking you not to raise our tax rate.
Okay, but I'm saying you're comparing us against something that's not achievable. And you
You're
keep
telling us-
you keep talking about how high we are in relation to our peers or in relation to other comparables. And you're comparing me, I'm already at a 14-cent disadvantage by the time you include my interest and sinking fund rate on top of my county rate. But if you want to pull that off of there and compare simply maintenance and operation budgets of counties, that, in my opinion, is a more justifiable comparison. And I can assure you, you won't find us up there in that top half. I'd be surprised if you found us in the top 3/4 or even 90%. We're going to be at the bottom of the pack.
You could justify this any way you want to.
Am
Brian.
I wrong, just so we establish that I'm
Yes,
stating?
you're wrong. It's the
Okay.
bottom line.
Where am I wrong?
You're wrong in raising our taxes.
Okay.
Everybody is strapped. Make some cuts. Try to make some cuts. That's all we're asking. Get in there and work with your budget instead of every year giving raises, every year adding things on there,
We
and
don't
every
give
year
raises
raising
every
the
year.
taxes.
We don't give raises every year. Maintenance and operation,
You
let me
gave them
just
this
give you
year.
some, we are this year, that's right.
Yes, you did last year.
Let me give for a select group of people at the jail.
Doesn't matter. The rest
It
of us
does
out there
matter.
aren't getting raises. Look at your taxpayer base. Look at your people out there that put you in power to watch after their money and watch after their taxes. That's all we're asking you to do, is treat it like it's your business or treat it like it's your home.
And that's what I do.
Well,
Let me go over some maintenance and operations comparisons, which I think, you've presented your comparison, I'm going to present mine, and I want folks to understand why I feel like this is a very reasonable tax rate. When you look at the things that this court has control over, we don't have control over that debt service rate, but we do have control over maintenance and operations.
You do have
These are
control over the debt service
2014
rate.
numbers.
You do have control over the debt service rate. When you go out and buy the Riddle Street building and you start
That has nothing to do with
refurbishing
that.
that's not
It
debt.
has nothing to do with our debt service rate.
That's not debt.
We
When
didn't
you
borrow.
remodel all of our buildings and put new facades on, that's not adding to our
No,
debt.
it's not. It's not.
How do you figure that? How do you do those things without adding to
Because
our
the debt is to pay our bonds. That's all it's for. We didn't go out and borrow money to do those items. Okay, maintenance and operation tax rates for comparable counties. I hope these are comparable counties. Here's Titus County. The current year, 2014, 27.44 cents. We're proposing going over to 32 cents. So I'll even use the 32 cents that we're making a dramatic jump this year, and I admit that. But let me compare that to last year's maintenance and operation rates for comparable counties. Hopkins County, 53 cents. Upshur County, 57 cents. Camp County, 49 cents. Wood County, 50 cents. Cass County, 45 cents. Bowie County, 30 cents. They did beat us there. Franklin County, 47 cents. Lamar County, 40 cents.
You're using comparable counties that aren't comparable counties.
You don't think our peers in East Texas are comparable counties?
Not if they're smaller than us in population, no.
Well, okay, here's some that are of comparable population. Howard County, 28 cents. Matagorda, 35 cents. Kendall, 35 cents. Erath, 44 cents. Cook, 45 cents. Hale, 49 cents. Washington, 50 cents. Brown, 53 cents. Fannin, 60 cents. Jasper, 65 cents. Caldwell, 62 cents. Kleberg, 71 cents. I've included our neighbors, and I've included comparable population sizes. I don't know how else to compare.
You don't need to compare. No one hired you to compare. No one.
Well, but I'm being held to a standard out there that I don't know what I'm
No.
being compared to.
We're not comparing you to anything. We're asking you not to raise our taxes and to make some cuts in our budget so it doesn't have to happen. 5 years in a row is really hard on your taxpayers. We're not comparing you to any other county. We're asking you to not raise our taxes, but instead to look and make some cuts. That's all we're asking you to do. And we're not asking you to compare yourself to anybody. We're asking you to do what as a Republican we do.
Okay.
We don't believe in big, overpowered government that takes from the taxpayer and spends how they want to spend it. We're asking you to keep our taxes down, not raise them, and to make some cuts in our budget so we can live within our means.
But the point that I bring up those comparisons is to make the emphatic statement that we're not a big, fat, overpowered county. We're a conservative, well-run, efficient
And if
county.
you keep raising our taxes, you won't
That's
be able
right.
to say that. I want you to think about your taxpayers, those people out at Luminant that are losing their jobs. How are they going to pay their taxes? I mean, not only are you losing our tax base, you're getting people that are losing their jobs. And in the process of losing their jobs, you're raising their taxes. So it's a double whammy on people. We're just asking you not to raise our taxes and to make some cuts.
All right. Who is next? Would you like to say anything? I'll give an opportunity to any commissioner that might want to make a statement.
Sure I would. The fact that we're a thin-run county is a little bit not true. We are one of the highest-paid elected official counties of a county our size, 25,499 people, in the state of Texas, out of 254. 37 counties are our size. We have the highest-paid officials. And like we put in the paper what our elected officials make, what you didn't put in there is that $133,000 extra they get, payroll, that is absolutely just a blatant lie to say their payroll is this much money when they get paid this other money, $15,600 Mr. Fields gets paid, and we take out taxes on it. So it's payroll. So you should add that when you put a piece in the paper that says our taxes, our elected officials have to get this kind of salary. That's not true when you put that ad in the paper. But of course, the paper is not going to question anything. That's the first thing I'd like to say. And then the fact that we don't try to cut. I make suggestions on places that we need to cut. You could do a lot of things to cut expenses if we wanted to. But the fact is, we wouldn't be popular with the county employees. We're going to take care of the county employees around here, and that's a fact. Nobody's going to do it. In this budget here, we've got $3,000 for James Webster, an increase. We got $1,200 for everybody else. You've got an increase of $10,200. You signed an affidavit that you got 40% of your work was judicial to get your increase. So everybody's getting something except the taxpayers, and we're taking it in the chin. We're going to raise our taxes 4 points. I guess that's around 10 cents, 10%, and nobody else is going to do it. I don't understand why we'd want to give raises to the higher paid people, the elected officials especially, and I cannot understand it. I'll never understand it. Our lower paid people probably need an increase, but our elected officials and our higher paid people could do without an increase because of our increase in our tax rate because of aluminum. And I expect that we probably might have had to raise them without doing drastic cuts. But there was certainly room, and nobody will even discuss it. I've been here 3 years. The first year I decided to run for office when I listened to this same conversation. And it was obvious that this Commissioners Court had no intentions of cutting any expenses. They made cosmetic cuts, like we reduced the amount we were accruing for something, and that's all. You collected the same amount of money every year by raising the tax rate, spent the same amount of money every year, going to do the same thing this year. And I don't think that's the way you run it. Like the lady said, you don't run a business that way. And I realize that we probably shouldn't be critical because we were criticized last month and got the sheriff after us, last meeting we had, so I'm not sure where we are now. Maybe we're down to the brown shirt. Hitler did that when they criticized him. He burned up their buildings. So I don't know. Maybe we're down to that. We're going to get a Gestapo in here to take care of business. So I don't know where we are in this county. You say the service or debt service. You didn't say that we're going to drop it to 13% this year from 14% and still raise our operating budget.
$12.99.
Do what?
$12.20.
$12.99, okay. From 14.8, that's quite a drop. That's more than one and a half points. But it's just a lot of things that we could do. We don't even consider it. You won't even discuss it. We could call it, I've mentioned them before, but it goes on deaf ears. We can consolidate equipment. I use the example of a mower. Nobody's concerned about it. It's all concerned about being popular in the courthouse and the county employees. And it's sickening, I'll tell you. That's all I got to say.
Well, I assure you it doesn't fall on deaf ears. We hear it from you loud and clear. We do think about this. I think about it every day of the year. I especially think about it over the last 3 months. I do a lot of thinking about it. I hear what you say, I understand, but just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I'm not listening and I'm not thinking. Let me make that clear. If we disagree, we disagree. But I've had plenty of chance to think about this. That's my job.
You may not be right. I may be right. Think about that.
I didn't say that you weren't right.
Okay.
I said you're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to mine. We have 5 votes up here. Now, I have a list of the items that you suggested, and I want to review those. And I understand these loud and clear, but I disagree with them. Eliminate these jobs of our election administrator. Well, we are giving that a try with one less full-time paid person. Eliminate the full-time Department of Public Safety clerk. Eliminate the business manager. Eliminate the county investigator. Eliminate county veteran services administrator, and revise auto allowances. Those are the suggestions that you came up with. I understand them. I've looked at them over and over. I clearly understand those, but I don't agree with them. But I respect your right to feel like you're right.
Can you come up with any that he doesn't come up with?
Well, we made a pretty significant decrease in the match of the retirement. And that doesn't make us real popular with these employees. You keep talking about how all we want to do is make the employees popular. That's not, excuse me, that's not viewed real with a lot of popularity. We're also going to have to make some adjustments to our health insurance. We don't want to be taxed with the Cadillac tax. We are going to do whatever it takes to get under that threshold. Once again, that won't be a popular item with the employees. You go year after year with nominal or no salaries increases, that's not popular with them. So no, we're not here just to accommodate our employees.
Well, first of all, we gave the employees a raise year before last. And I had a copy of the minutes, but I didn't bring them with me. On the last day, Mr. Fields recommended we give them a $600 a month year raise. And we did. Then last year, you gave the sheriff's department a raise. Then this year, but we've got a lot of areas that we don't even discuss consolidating equipment for the road maintenance thing. Not even discuss. It's never discussed. We've never discussed one thing.
Your idea of discuss is to make a change. Discussing, you've discussed it numerous times. These guys have all heard you. They're not fools. They've been at this quite a while. So they understand it. Commissioner Fields, you have anything?
The only thing, and I want to talk or ask Carl about this, and this budget would raise less revenue for property taxes than last year's budget by an amount of $581,982. Is that correct? Yes. And that's amount of money is going to be less than what we bring in than we brought in last year. Now, we look at different things and consolidating. You talk about equipment. I've got one maintainer.
Be sure you're in that microphone. I want everybody to hear, and it need it to be on the record.
I got one bush hog, and I've got one brush cutter. And we try to cut our roads 3 times a year. And I think everybody up there, and I've told you this, if we can help with situations, call me. I'll be glad to send a piece of equipment or a hand or whatever. Some of this equipment you have to be certified to run. Just can't anybody get on this type of equipment. And I think we have, through the years, made big cuts. At one point in time, there was 10 to 12 employees in each precinct. Now there's 4 or 3 in each precinct, full-time employees. And I hired 2 part-time employees that work 29 hours a week. And there's times we don't have enough hands, and we're all in that situation. But if we come up and you have a project that you need, I've never known a precinct not helping another precinct if they needed help. And we have always worked together doing that. The Sheriff's Department, you don't pay those employees, the old saying, you pay for what you get. When you have other departments, the city police, the other departments out there, and they continue to get raises, and our Sheriff's Department's sitting there and they're not getting raises, and they've got this certification, they've got this training. You get good officers, they're going to keep you out of a lot of lawsuits. And I'm going to give Tim and his department over there a little credit. He's done a good job getting the right people into positions. Let me tell you, you can go back through the years and look at the lawsuits the county's had with the Sheriff's Department's been involved in. And a lot of times this can be eliminated by having good deputies that know what they're doing, cross their T's and dot their I's. I'm very proud of what's been accomplished through the years, and the deputies that we have over there. They're very professional. They do a great job. Same thing with our county employees. Our county employees work hard. They do a good job. I think we still have the same amount of people in Judy's office that was there 28 years ago. The same amount of people. That comes back through technology. That comes back through, the computers are a big thing. They have really helped. They've enabled the county to be able to keep down their employees. If we were still having to handwrite everything, we'd probably have quite a few more in every position. But technology and everything has helped us keep that down. The fire department is something that was not on there years ago, but we're looking at hiring part-time, or not part-time, but helping with 3 more full-time employees. Talked to Jimmy a little bit this morning about the fire departments, and I think you said y'all had 7 or 8 new firefighters.
Some new faces that
Not firefighters, but people that come to
volunteers.
Maybe volunteers. There's no doubt in my mind. You check with any county our size, anywhere in the state of Texas, and you're going to find out we got the best fire protection in the state. And that's one thing people have told me that they wanted was fire protection. Because if we get our fire department's rankings down, that means the homeowner gets a discount, but we're still going to have to pay for those firefighters if we hire 3 more people on the city staff. But there's a lot of different factors that go in here, and we try to look at everything. I try to look at everything and see what we can do and what we can't do. But fire protection, we're adding these other things, and we're paying the volunteers and stuff like this. We have to pay for it. But still, you look at what's been cut this year, and we're looking at bringing in that $500,000 less money this year than we did last year.
That last year it was predicted to be less also, but it was more. And that was it, because of a lot of things. Our sales tax was a little greater. We took in some more money than it was projected at this time. And I guarantee you it'll be more this time, bet $1 on it, than you just said it was going to be off the property taxes alone. There's variables in there that comes up with more money than what that says.
I'm not exactly sure what you're saying, but in full disclosure, although this budget brings in a less money by $581,000, that's essentially all debt service money. Because we're reducing the debt service rate significantly, that is responsible for virtually that whole amount. So I won't try to convince anybody that we've cut the maintenance and operation budget, but at least we are able to cut this INS rate. Commissioner Hinton or Commissioner Parker, anybody want to add to this?
I have nothing to add.
Judge, I'd just like to say that I've thought long and hard about this. This is one thing that I have dreaded since January, since I took office, is this time. I have looked at the budget, not been looking at it just lately. I started shortly after I went into office looking at things. As far as the precincts working together and all, I have no problem with that. I think we should work together when we can. Each and every one of you know this time of year is the time that we have to get our stuff done, and everybody's busy. Nobody wants to call on anybody else at this time of year to do anything. I don't like raising taxes. Never have. But there's some times that you have to look at the overall picture. There's some places that could bring a little bit here and a little bit there. Carl, correct me on this if I'm wrong, but it takes $190,000, somewhere around $200,000 to drop the tax rate 1 cent. Yes. Is that not right? Some of the proposals that have been made, that it would drop it a little bit, and that's something that I think that could be looked at. But overall, we are in a situation that I think we have to look at long and hard. And I appreciate everybody's concern. I appreciate everybody's input on the situation, and I'm still looking. I haven't given up yet.
Thank you.
Let me say this, $168,000 with 132 employees is what the increase in pay that you proposed. And the savings on that retirement from 250 to 200% is something like less than $100,000. So we're really increasing our expenses in that area, not decreasing it anywhere. All I can do is 3 years of history, and we hadn't made many cuts in that area either. So,
all right. One more time as a reminder, we had proposed a 44.75 cent rate. Since this is a tax rate hearing, we'll have another opportunity to discuss this on Thursday. But at our last Commissioners Court meeting, we had approved participating with the city on the cost of 3 new firefighters. That'll be a net increase to the county of about $92,000. I don't think you can pull that out of fund balance every year going forward. You're going to have to make some kind of an adjustment to help fund that. I'm thinking instead of 44.75, a 45 cent even is what I am thinking about. So I want you to be considering that over the next few days. Sue?
This is a little bit not about the hearing, but you mentioned the election administrator. I just wanted to let you know, and I hadn't had time to say, what you're doing is really not according to election code. Chrissy cannot just be elevated and do that work without being officially hired.
Right.
You know that. Okay.
I do know that.
And I don't know that we're meeting as a commission to do that. That election commission consists of you.
That election commission will need to meet.
Okay.
We're simply adjusting the dollars that will be funded to that department, but these guys up here are completely aware, and so am I,
Okay.
that any firm decisions that are made going forward will be made by that committee.
But in turn, I mean, you're going to be putting that into the budget. I don't know what that means. If you're going to use her salary now or raise it or
Well,
whatever,
we're eliminating one full-time position there, and there has been some additional money added. We've taken out the one. We've added a little bit more money that hopefully will be a good guess as to where we end up in the compensation of what we're thinking should be a 2-person department.
Okay, and the reality is that resignation from Leonard would be presented to that commission at the time and not to the court in general.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. All right, anyone else? Otherwise, we will bring our first meeting of the morning to an end, which is the tax rate hearing. And I understand, as you do, that these are very much commingled together, but nonetheless, we have two separate and distinct legal requirements, one a tax rate hearing and one a budget hearing. So at this time, I will propose that we bring the 2015 tax rate hearing to a close. That is my motion. Second by Commissioner Hinton. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, we will move right into the proposed 2015-16 budget hearing. It was scheduled at 9:30. And once again, anyone that would like to address the court at this time is welcome and encouraged to do so. Yes, Judy.
I just cannot imagine that logical, intelligent county employees live here and see what's happening to our coal-powered plants and understand the decrease in revenue. All of those people would expect raises. It seems to me a very logical train of thought that they would see what's going on in our counties and they would understand, well, we're not going to get a raise this year. That just seems logical. I cannot imagine with what's happening to our revenue that anybody would be expecting a raise. It just makes no sense to me.
Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
I just wanted to mention that when I worked for a company that was struggling, they cut out entirely the matching 401k portion that they did, which they had a cap on. And as an employee, I didn't work less. I didn't give them less than my normal 100%. Now, you say that we'll lose good employees. Well, with the businesses, the private businesses cutting employees, I don't think you're going to lose good employees by just cutting out the contributing amount to their 401k. They still have the same take-home pay. It doesn't affect them personally now. If they're more worried about their future, they can just contribute more themselves personally. But I don't think that you're obligated to keep them going when everybody else can't even keep up.
Ma'am, what is your name for the record?
Karen Gatherer.
Thanks, Ms. Gatherer. Anyone else? Commissioners?
I'd like to add that Mrs. Davis wrote an article about our comptroller about how the Titus County was the lowest pay in the northeastern portion of the state of Texas. I think that should be factored into our thinking also, but I don't know whether you all read that article or not.
All right.
We've got a meeting Thursday night.
Thursday, 6 p.m. will be our final hearing. Then Monday, a week from today, 6 p.m., we will vote on the 2015-16 budget as well as tax rate. I thank you for your participation today. I appreciate the way that this meeting has gone and everybody's maintained composure. That makes it a lot easier to listen and focus on the issues. I will entertain a motion to adjourn if there is no one else left to talk. Motion by Commissioner Fields. Second by Commissioner Parker. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you again, everyone. It's 9:50 and we're adjourned.